everyone, this is Mason with TechFox, and today we are taking a look at the Apple Watch. We're also going to be having a general discussion on smartwatches and what their future looks like. Let's get into it. So you may recognize this as an Apple Watch. Now this is not the first generation, this is the second generation. It shares a lot of the same basic functionality with the first generation with a couple of added features. Now that's not to say that there aren't some things that are genuinely great about having an Apple Watch compared to not having one. You can answer calls, monitor your heart rate, track your activity throughout the day, view and reply to texts, see your notifications. You can use Apple Pay at participating retailers. You can share your heartbeat with a significant other. You can get directions, you can draw and send pictures, you can use Siri, access your photos, use Facebook Messenger, store your music on the watch itself, share your location with others, check your email, control your Apple TV or other Apple devices, use the iPhone viewfinder and shutter, use Find iPhone, and also set the watch time ahead by a few minutes. Apparently that's a common thing for people to do to avoid being late to things, but the watch actually lets you set the display time ahead, but the function time of the device at the actual real time, which I didn't really consider, but is actually kind of a cool feature. In addition to those first-party applications, there are also some impressive third-party applications that are actually genuinely useful. For example, on our house we have an alarm system that we can control by a mobile device, and it's actually much quicker to access some of the main functionality by using the Apple Watch as opposed to the phone. In literally 2 button presses, I can arm or disarm my house. The same cannot be said for the mobile version on my iPhone. Additionally, this camera right here is Wi-Fi enabled, and through third-party apps on your iPhone, you can access a lot of the camera settings, and you can even tap the phone on the side of the camera to quickly transfer smaller versions of those photos onto your iPhone and then quickly share those on social media. And then of course, there's a little bit of functionality that crosses over onto the Apple Watch, for example, controlling the shutter. So instead of having to go to the camera and activate some sort of timer and run back to your place alongside your friends, you can literally stand next to them and then very slyly press a button on your Apple Watch to activate the shutter. Pretty cool. First and foremost, it comes in 2 flavors, Series 1 and Series 2. There are mainly 4, I guess you can consider it 5 main differences between the two. The first difference is water resistance. The Series 2 is water resistant up to 50 meters. The Series 1 is splash resistant, so you can wash your car, wash your hands. I wouldn't recommend necessarily taking a shower with it, or definitely not jumping in the pool, but it does have a little bit of water resistance built in, but not to the same extent of the Series 2. The second notable feature is a built-in GPS, so the thought process here is you can leave your phone at home when you go out for a run, and this may be more beneficial to those of you that have a 6 or 7 plus. The watch will still be able to track the distance that you run without having to bring your phone with you, so that may be beneficial to you. The third difference is a brighter screen. The screen on the Series 2 is twice as bright as the screen on the Series 1. Interestingly enough, the screen on the Apple Watch Series 2 is the brightest screen Apple has ever put on any display. It's right up there alongside the iPhone 7, which is really impressive. Technically, I don't even know if I should mention it, but the chip in the Series 2 is a little bit faster. They are both sporting the second generation dual-core processor built specifically for the Apple Watch, and they are both running watchOS 3, but the chip in the Series 2 is a little bit faster, but I mean, come on, it's a watch. You're not going to be running benchmarks on it, you're not going to be playing games with it. To you and me, there's not really going to be any tangible difference in performance between the two. Essentially, you're not going to buy the Series 2 over the Series 1 because of performance, so maybe it's worth mentioning, maybe not. And if you're considering purchasing the Series 2 over the Series 1, you should also know that it starts $100 more expensive. The Series 1 starts at $269 and the Series 2 starts at $369. And for a watch, admittedly, yeah, that's a little expensive, but for smartwatches, that's about par for the course. If you look at the functionality built into the Apple Watch, it can trade blows with other Android devices all day and at about the same price point. Another notable difference between the Apple Watch and other Apple products is the level of customization. Typically, Apple goes with a one-size-fits-all approach for their devices, but the Apple Watch can actually be customized to a fairly impressive extent. It comes in 5 colors: rose gold, gold, silver, black, and space gray, in 3 materials: aluminum, stainless steel, and ceramic, It also comes in a variety of different bands, and of course the two sizes, the 38mm and the 42mm. Some of you may remember that $10,000 Apple Watch edition. It was crafted with pure gold and oiled with leprechaun tears. Well, the edition makes a return for the second generation, however, at a much more reasonable $1,249. And instead of being made out of solid gold, this one is made out of ceramic. Admittedly, it is a very pretty device. It's got a mid-century space exploration kind of feel. However, I don't know if that white color and the ceramic material is necessarily worth such a high price increase. Now, they do say that the ceramic is 3 times stronger than the steel, but I don't know what kind of situation I'm going to be in where I need a watch that is 3 times stronger than steel. I think I'll just buy a new Apple Watch, and for that price you literally could. Speaking of being overpriced, the bands have gotten a little bit ridiculous. So if you go on Apple's actual site, it will show you a number of bands that cost $400, $500, or even over $600, and they don't do anything. I know there are people out there that feel that a premium watch needs to cost a certain dollar amount, but you could literally buy an entire other Apple Watch for the price of some of these bands, and then have still a little bit of money left over. So the question then remains, is it worth it? Is the Apple Watch worth $269 or $369? Well, yes and no. It depends on the type of person. First type of person might be someone who doesn't have full access to their phone throughout the day. For example, someone who, for practical or professional reasons, can't be on their phone, and maybe having the ability to use their Apple Watch instead is a possible alternative. This could also potentially be for those that are very active. You like to run, you like to swim. The Apple Watch has a lot of great built-in apps and third-party apps that can cater to those that have a very active lifestyle. This really is one of the best devices if you're an active individual looking to track your fitness. However, there are other devices out there that cost significantly less that do almost as good of a job, so I wouldn't buy it for solely that reason. There are also those who just like to spend money on watches as part of their apparel. If you're going to spend a couple $100s on a watch, it may as well do more than tell time. The other type of person who would really benefit from this is someone who already exists deep in the Apple ecosystem. So this is no secret, Apple products work better the more of them you have. They communicate between one another very, very well. This is one of the selling points of owning Apple devices. So if you already have a Hackintosh, an iPad, an iPhone, then yeah, the Apple Watch could potentially be a good device for you over an Android alternative, because all of your messages and your notifications, your calendar events, your alarms, all of that seamlessly transfers across. Also, your music, your photos, you can access everything seamlessly on one device and another without having to sync or plug anything in. It's very easy to use. So if you're already deeply entrenched in the Apple ecosystem, I would say it's very likely you would benefit more from an Apple Watch compared to an Android. But also those that are active commuters. Maybe you ride your bike or use public transportation throughout the day, and having an Apple Watch could possibly help you out. There may be situations where it may not be safe to pull out your phone, and having a watch readily accessible with the notifications or information that you need is maybe a safer alternative. Then of course there are those who I think make up probably about half of the Apple Watch consumers, and that is those who maybe just appreciate new tech. They like Apple, they like new tech, and you think it's worth the price tag. So if you fulfill one or more of those categories, then I would say, yeah, the Apple Watch possibly could be the watch for you. The field has thinned, and now it's basically Apple against a handful of Android competitors. But this is Apple's game. They've been doing it for years. The iPhone wasn't the first smartphone. The iPad wasn't the first tablet. And the Apple Watch most definitely wasn't the first smartwatch. This is what they do. They show up late to the game, but they also bring alongside that device a set of innovative features that would persuade you to spend a little bit more to get an Apple. Now, historically, those innovative features have genuinely been innovative. Now, I appreciate Apple for what they do, and even if you don't, even if you're an Android person and you don't own anything from Apple and never have and never will, you have to admit that the smartphone as we know it would look very different were it not for Apple. The tablet as we know it would look very different if it weren't for the iPad. But I can't really say the same thing for the Apple Watch. I can't look at a smartwatch from a competitor and genuinely say that the smartwatch would be any different because of the Apple Watch. I don't think there's any real innovation that came here that you can't find in some variation from somewhere else. Now, I think they're going to stick around. They're not going to be phased out entirely, but obviously, I think most of us saw this coming. The smartwatches were going to get really big right when they started to become a real thing, and especially when Apple put their name on one. And then of course it's going to get phased out, and only the people who actually really benefit one and don't just want to try it out are going to be using and buying them. And I think Apple was prepared for that. They knew this wasn't a product for everyone. It's moderately helpful for most people, but it's really helpful for a small group of people. And that's what this watch is for, that small group. So if you're in that small group, then yeah, I'd recommend an Apple Watch. I would genuinely think twice about getting the Series 2, unless you can tell me for a very specific reason why you need the Series 2 over the Series 1, then I would save yourself the $100 and spend it on a fancy new band. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you appreciated this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see other content from me, other technology reviews, you can check those out in the videos here. And also don't forget to subscribe if you want to see other content from me in the future. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next one.